So, if you'd have asked me to film a video like this a few years ago, like this close to my face, everything very in view, I wouldn't have done it. Not for any amount of money. I probably would have cried at the idea, at the thought of having to do that. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about my face and my kind of relationship with my appearance and body image. I mean, we're not going to talk full body because, let's face it, I'm a ballet dancer. This video could be hours long, so we're just gonna focus on this. My journey with self-confidence when it comes to my appearance has really fluctuated, and other people's perceptions and ideas have really influenced that. And it's just made me more mindful of how I look at people and interact with people and my judgment of the beauty standard. My face has been a point of worry for me in the past, sometimes even now still. I used to have really bad acne. My skin started breaking out when I was about 15 and it started off quite light, nothing really that bad. I remember feeling really insecure about it at the time because up until that point I had had perfectly clear skin. And then all of a sudden, as soon as a few pimples started showing up, I was panicking and I felt really self-conscious about it. But I look at the photos now and a lot of the time I can barely even see any problems. So it's crazy that I was affected by it that much and it was barely noticeable at that point. Eventually my skin did start to get worse. It was ramping up over the next 2 years. When I was 17, I went through a really stressful period at school and my mental health was just not very good. It was probably the worst it's ever been at that point, and I think the stress and anxiety just did not help and it manifested itself all over my face. As much as it was horrible to see and the way it looked made me feel really self-conscious and just so miserable, the thing that really made it worse was just how painful it was. I remember I had a lot of the really kind of heavy spots under the skin around my mouth area and my chin. I remember I basically couldn't move my mouth without being in pain, smiling, eating. It was all just really painful. I mean, not that I wanted to smile much at that time anyway. It got to a low point and I was really unhappy. I just felt so horrible and it was the worst feeling in the world. I contacted a GP to get some medication and I started taking that and it got better. I took that for about a year, I'd say. That was a really humbling point, was when I had to contact the GP, because this was during COVID years, so I couldn't actually go and see anyone. I had to send photos of my face for them to look at. That was really humiliating for me at the time, to have pictures that so clearly showed everything that was wrong, everything that was stripping me of any confidence. It was really hard. I looked back at those photos actually a few days ago and I got strangely emotional looking at them. I wanted to cry because I just remember how terrible it felt. I remember how much pain I was in and it was just the worst experience. I remember thinking I would never wish this on anyone, not even the people I hate. Nobody deserves to go through that, to have something that strips you so much of your confidence, because it's so confronting. Especially as well because I'm a ballet dancer, going to school every day, being in front of mirrors in the ballet studio. I couldn't hide from it. I was constantly being confronted by my face and constantly having to see what other people were seeing. And just knowing that other people were seeing that. Especially because, like I said, I wasn't doing very well mentally when it was at its worst. It felt like they could see my problems on my face. Even if I was really good at hiding it and not saying anything, my face was telling the whole story for them. And I felt very vulnerable because of that. On the journey to trying to regain some confidence, one thing that never helped was how other people talked about their own skin, which when you have really bad skin, you notice it 10 times more. I still notice it a lot now because I'm so used to thinking in that way. A lot of the time people would complain about their breakouts and I would look at them and they'd have 1 or 2 pimples, nothing really bad, a tiny bit of redness. But in comparison to me it seemed like clear skin. That's all I wanted. I would give anything to be in their shoes and look like that instead of what I looked like. And that was really horrible because then in my head I'm thinking, well, if you think you look bad, then what are you thinking looking at me? For me, hearing people complain about the tiniest things and thinking that they look terrible made me feel worse. There was one specific conversation I heard, and these two people were like sat next to me, and they were talking about somebody else in a different year group, and they were saying, oh yeah, he's got quite bad acne. Oh, I feel really bad for him. And I just remember after that just running off and crying on my way home from school because I just felt so humiliated. Another thing that I've had to come to terms with regarding my face was being biracial. When I went to boarding school, I was predominantly around white people, and I guess being around a specific beauty standard, I was just very confronted with the fact of never being seen in the same way as the blue-eyed, blonde-haired like person. I'm never going to be perceived in that way, and I'm going to be treated differently because I don't look that way. People are going to look at me and not be able to see my beauty, and there's nothing I can do about that. That was just another thing that was kind of in the back of my mind growing up as I got older. I don't want to be the person sat here like victimizing biracials because like we don't have it that hard, like I understand. But that was just something that I was mulling over in my head. I will say, I did mention the blue-eyed blonde-haired person. Fun fact, I was blonde when I was younger. So another thing was that being around ballet dancers, I was constantly comparing myself because let me tell you something. Ballet dancers generally are very good looking. It's a visual art form, so I understand that that plays into it. Among my classmates and my colleagues, like everyone is really beautiful. Like people could be models. A lot of people are models, side hustles. So I guess I wasn't really around a normal group of people growing up for a very long time. And I think that's definitely affected my perception of myself and my body image. And like I said, mirrors all around all the time. Now, things have gotten better. My skin has cleared up. I'm very happy with the way I look now, and I'm learning to accept it more and more every day. The thing I do hate though, and that I feel sad about, is that I had to get to this point of having better skin to feel okay. I wasn't able to just accept myself as I was then because it wasn't normalized. I was constantly being confronted with looks of sympathy and disgust, and people asking if I'm on medication or doing anything, asking what I'm doing wrong. I hate that I had to change to feel better. I wish things were different. The one thing I have taken away from the experience of having really bad acne is that now I'm super grateful for the way I look, even on days like today. Like, I'm not perfect. My skin isn't perfect. I still get spots all the time. It's completely normal for me. I'm a human. All I have to do now, if I ever feel a little self-conscious about how I look back at my past photos and I think, oh yeah, I remember when I was at that point and all I wanted was to get to this point. And I remember that, and then I'm good. It's important to take a step back, take stock of how far you've come. There's always going to be someone who wants to be in your shoes and be where you are right now, so you should appreciate your present circumstances. It's also good because I'm now less hard on myself. I hear the way still some people talk about their skin and say, oh, I'm breaking out, and to me they look perfect. And I'm glad that in a way I went through my bad experience because now I'm not hard on myself. I'm kind to myself when it comes to that respect. Another thing to remember is that, is my window leaking? Another thing I would tell myself when my skin was bad is that this was just a sign that I'm young, and that's certainly not going to last forever. Still, to this day, I continue to remind myself that I might look back in 50 years and think, oh wow, I wish that I still looked like that. Which is terrible because aging is a gift, and I hope that I remember that as I continue to do so. But, you know, it's true. I might look back at photos in however many years and I won't even see the imperfections. I'll just see young, happy version of me. Like how I look at photos of when my skin first started getting bad, and now I don't even see any problems. If I'm going to have that perspective in the future, I may as well start trying to look at myself like that. now, even if I'm not at my ideal best version of myself. Another thing was that even people's reactions to my scar was interesting. I got this scar basically about a year ago. I fell over, hit my head, had to get it glued back together. Obviously people asked about it because they suddenly noticed, oh, that wasn't there before. But I had one person even kind of suggest ways I could get rid of it or make it lighter or go away. And I was like, it's a scar. Who cares? Who actually cares? It's a part of me. It's a part of my story. It's a conversation piece. It doesn't bother me that much. I don't know why anyone would even think that, to be honest. I kind of love it. I mean, I always thought there was something missing. Now I don't have to get the forehead tattoo I was dreaming of. It's part of who I am, as is every imperfection, every flaw, and every spot. It doesn't really matter. This is your reminder to be okay with who you are and accept yourself, because ultimately life is long and you may as well make it easier for yourself by looking in the mirror every day and deciding to like what you see. And I know it's hard to just make that decision, but fake it till you make it. Thank you for watching. If you liked this, please subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye!